Raptors fans, Scott Campsall here with Adam Francis. We're actually at the Tiff Bell Lightbox for the Blogs with Balls conference, and we're just going to talk a little bit about preseason. So the Raptors got a couple games coming up this week. I think they take on Real Madrid on Monday and Detroit, Wednesday and Friday. So what's kind of your take? What are you expecting out of those games?
I hate preseason. Because it's sort of like this fake lead up. It's like we've waited all summer, and well, for Raptors fans it feels like 6 months because we're not talking playoffs, for basketball to begin, and then you kind of get this tease where you see elements. You're going to see a lot of minutes for guys like Dominic McGuire probably. So it's a bit of a tease. It has to be done, but I'm looking forward to the real games. Expectations, I really just think that we're going to start to see the Casey implant on the entire roster. I mean, we saw that last year, obviously, but I think, right from the get-go, we'll see these new players playing that way, especially because a lot of the ones that were brought in are in that Casey mold. Record I don't really have projections and I'm not really concerned about, but, it's good to have basketball back. I can't believe, though, that we're talking, preseason this week essentially.
I know, it's crazy, especially with the shortened season, and then I guess we had Summer League and we had the Olympics, so it feels like things are going by a lot quicker, I guess. One thing I'm looking forward to is just kind of seeing, I guess, the seeds of how Casey's going to play this rotation, because he's got a lot of guys, and it'll be interesting to see how he decides he's going to play minutes.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point. Whereas I think in past years you had, even last year with Casey, there were certain guys that were sort of the go-to players right off the bat. This year, I mean, we're talking about a pretty deep team, and that I wouldn't be surprised if at some point during the year you saw Dominic McGuire start. That sounds kind of ridiculous, but Casey, I think, is the type of coach that would say, you know what? With McGuire in the lineup at, let's say, the 3, and maybe Landry Fields at the 2, it helps Bargnani out at the 4 spot. And, we've seen, because I know these guys now pay more attention to these sort of advanced metrics, so, maybe that McGuire's a better fit there, and he starts games when maybe he plays 10 minutes and, someone else comes in. The point being, though, is that I think this team, though, really, there's not a huge difference between player number 1 and player number 15, or at least not, 1 and 8. We may start to see in the preseason, just which direction he's going to go. It's going to be interesting to see where a guy like Linus Kleza fits, who, you would think would be in that top 8, but there's no guarantee of that, right? They may say, okay, Dominic McGuire's defense we need that out here, or we need it to at least get more minutes than Leza's, shooting.
That's a great point, especially considering he's a better.
I called him Leza.
You totally called him Leza, but I was going to let it slide, but that's fine. He's a guy that's interesting because he's certainly a better player at the 4, which may also be the case with Dominic McGuire, but there's a lot of guys at the 4 or 5 spot, so it's just, I would anticipate at some point in the season there being, a trade to kind of clear that up, but for the time being, there's a lot of bodies and not as many minutes. Also, interesting bold prediction on the DeRozan benching there. You kind of slipped it in without saying it. Yeah, and then I pointed it out. Now, how about Jonas Valanciunas? I don't know if he's going to play this week, but at the preseason in general, I assume we'll see him at some point. That's got to be something you're excited for.
Not really. I'm honestly, I'm more excited to see, because I think we're going to see sort of the growing pains, and the Jonas that I'm excited for is probably 2 or 3 years away. Not to say I'm not, I'm glad he's here, but I think some of the players I'm more excited to see, and this is just me, are the guys like Dominic McGuire. Are these guys going to be able to fight for a playoff spot? Because some of these guys I think are a good fit in terms of what Casey wants out of his team. So, he may decide to give those guys more minutes, and they may sort of win him over in that respect. But I think, Jonas obviously is going to be a big focal point for fans.
Well, personally, I'm a little excited to see him. Obviously, we're not going to get the guy we want to see, but, we've spent a lot of time being Raptors fans. You see those younger players, like even a younger Chris Bosh, and he may not have been the best that he could be in his first season. Every once in a while you get a game where you're like, wow, this guy's going to be special. And those are kind of moments that, as a Raptors fan, having a team that doesn't win a lot, those are kind of things you look forward to. So that's something that I'm looking forward to anyway.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. I'm also interested to see what Casey's offense is going to look like. This will be sort of our first view of, what tweaks he's made, over the offseason and obviously during training camp. What kind of team is he going to run out there, and, how effective does that look like it will be with the lineup that he has, which is an interesting lineup. And you made a point about trades. I think one of the biggest things for me, period, with this team is just how many questions there are around it. Outside of, I would say, Kyle Lowry, barring injury, locking down the point guard spot, there's not a lot of other stuff I'm feeling too confident about. We don't know DeMar if he takes the step we all want. Is Andrea going to play consistently? Are some of these bench guys, or what we're calling bench guys, are they going to jump up and grab starters minutes or grab more minutes? Are Jose and Kyle going to coexist? There's a lot of questions, maybe more than I've had about a Raptors team in a while.
This is true, and I think that is something that might make the preseason a little bit more interesting.
Yeah.
So let us know your thoughts. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel, you like us on Facebook, and you follow us on Twitter.